What is up today, guys? Today we are doing it again. Holy cow, I just recorded for 45 minutes. Let's see how long this one goes. Alrighty guys, this is my experience in visual development from Feazel University's computer animation degree program from Feazel University. So let's get into this. We're going to talk about class information, we're going to talk about some assignments, some teacher information, some tips, and then we'll get into an in short and then we'll get on out of here. So this is my month 18 from Feazel University, visual development. Let's talk about it. Visual development. Going into this class, I didn't exactly know what to expect, really, because I was like, what am I developing visually, and stuff like that. Turns out this class is an awful lot of substance painter and rendering. Do you remember shading and lighting? It's an awful lot like that, but it's not at the same time. Week 4 in shading and lighting, when we did an awful lot of texturing, you know, diffuse, specular, roughness, normal, and stuff like that. That week 4 is pretty much this entire month, well, weeks 2 through 4. So let's just go ahead and talk about some class information real quick. Class information, 9 assignments. 1 is professionalism, and then you have a discussion and a project each week. Your discussions are due Sundays, and your homework is due Mondays. Cool, because most classes, homework is due on Sundays. Pinky up. Teacher is pretty cool. You're going to be using Substance Designer as well as Substance Painter and Maya. So 3 applications this month. Gonna have to download Substance Designer. So let's go ahead and just talk about it. Start getting into assignments because that's pretty much all I got. Your lectures were Tuesday night and then they were uploaded Wednesday day. So let's just jump right in, talk about it, and get into some assignments. So week 1, lighting and UVing techniques. What could this week be about? Let's talk about the discussion first, and then we'll talk about the project. So the discussion is basically in 2 parts. Share your favorite CG artist work. I'm reading it off my computer. And then part 2, share your favorite 3D animated short or trailer. So my favorite CG artist work, dang it, how do you pronounce his name? Hokoria? Because I don't know how to pronounce this guy's YouTube channel. Honestly, if you saw his logo, you might recognize it. I think his work is pretty friggin' awesome. He makes characters and stuff like that. And my favorite animated short is Lava from Pixar, because, you know, I friggin' love that. I lava it. And yeah, that's your discussion. That's pretty much it. That's due Sunday at midnight. Your actual homework, that's due Monday at midnight. Monday with an M and an O-N-D-A-Y. That is all about lighting and UVing. So you're gonna get this scene. It's got like a pulley, a scraper, some books, washers, nails, not nails, screws, a bottle, a wall, a desk, and stuff like that. You gotta put in a light on the left, a light at the upper right, and then a dome light. That's pretty much it. And the good thing about this class is that it is not pixel perfect like it kind of was in shading and lighting. It's more or less kind of look and feel, visual development kind of stuff. Can you match the feeling of your reference, but you don't have to match your reference pixel perfect. So that's the really good thing about this class. So the lighting took a couple hours for me to do, but that's because it crashed and then I had to restart, and it crashed like right when I was just about done. So save iterations so that if you do crash, you know, you're only losing like 15 minutes of work instead of, you know, your few hours that you put in. Save iterations, there's a tip for you. Save iterations, but once I got the lighting done, it wasn't bad. And then you UV the scraper and the pulley. So that took about like 2 hours or so for me to do. And he has videos kind of walking you through how to do it and tips on how to do stuff and stuff like that. Pretty much everything in this class has a video on how to do it, but the videos only get you about 70 or 80% of the way there. You got to fill in the extra 20 to 30%, and that will really put you above, get you a good grade. And that will come up later in this video. Once you have the lighting done and your UVing done, you're gonna render. When you render, make sure that you hit the 3 key to smooth everything out. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's still in one mode and it's blocky, and that's not what they're looking for. Make sure you hit the 3 key. Rendering took about an hour or so, but I set it for some pretty high settings. I set it for 512 samples with like 0.015 variance. So it took like an hour, but I got a really good result. And my grade for the week was 98 because I had a few UV shells that were cut up a little too much. My upper right light was going through the wall, so you know that's like not good. So I got a 98 for the week. Not bad. So let's move on to week 2. Week 2, Introduction to Painter. So let's start with the discussion and then we will talk about the assignment. Discussion, you're pretty much just describing the PBR material properties, and that's I'm gonna read it right here. Base color, metallic, roughness, height, and normal. Describe what they do and their qualities in terms of rendering and just texturing stuff in general. And then research an emissive property. An emissive is glow, like a glow stick, you know? There's that. That's your discussion. And then let's talk about, oh yeah. Back to week 1 real quick. So week 1 took me 856 minutes, which translates to 14 hours, 16 minutes. I probably spent longer on it than most people would, but that's okay. All good. Okay, back to week 2. So now let's talk about the project for week 2. You're going to texture the books, the table, and the metal objects like the washers, the screw, and the little wrench thing. Now that sounds like an awful lot, but really it's not bad. The lecture pretty much walks you through the entire process of texturing the book. He gives you a few tips to add to it once the lecture's done, but pretty much the entire thing. The table and the metal objects are super simple. You guys remember shading and lighting where you could do 2 objects in Painter in week 4, but everything else had to be done in Photoshop? Well, you get to do everything in Painter. There's none of that like 2 objects but do the rest in Photoshop. No, you get to do everything in Painter. Painter will then generate the roughness and the diffuse and the normal and the speculars and stuff like that. Texturing it, it's a layering system. We've used Painter before, but honestly, during this week, I felt way more comfortable with Painter than I had before, and I haven't used Painter in, goodness, was it shading and lighting that I last used it? Because during project and portfolio 3 and 4, I chose the animation route. So I think this was my first time using Painter since shading and lighting. And for some reason, I don't know what, but I just started to feel a lot more comfortable with it. I started to figure out more techniques with it. It's very much Photoshop-like because, you know, it is layering. But I don't know, there's something that just kind of felt more at home, more comfortable about it this time. But I ended up getting 100 surprisingly in week 2. In week 2, I also spent 871 minutes, which translates to 14 hours, 31 minutes. So very close to what week 1 was. Now week 3, remember where I said the lectures only get you about 70 or 80% of the way there? Week 3 is a very good example of that. Because in week 3, I had a whole bunch of junk go down where I had very, very little time to do schoolwork. So unfortunately, I didn't get to start working on this until the Monday it was due. There's that. You can see where this is going. Okay, so let's talk about the discussion real quick, and then I was able to do the discussion Sunday morning when it was due. Let's talk about the discussion first, and then we'll get into the lecture relates to the grade thing. So for the discussion for week 3, it's pretty much a self-critique kind of thing. You pick the object that you think you were able to texture well and object you think you weren't able to texture well so far. And at this point, I've only done the metal, the shelf, and the books at this point. I said, I feel like I did the metal very well, and I feel like I didn't do the book so well because of this reason and this. It doesn't look so realistic. And all of those he gave me 100 on during week 2. So it was more like, let's pick one and run with it. So that's pretty much what it was. However, I had not yet done week 3 texturing at this point. So, I mean, that is what it is. That's the discussion. It's a self-critique. What do you feel like you've done well? What do you feel like you could have improved on? So week 3 is advanced texturing and material creation. So in this week you only have 2 items to texture, but I was not able to spend as much time on it as I wanted to. Let's talk about it. You are texturing the scraper and the pulley, which are the 2 things that you UV'd in week 1. So he shows you some different ways of texturing, like using anchor systems, and I mean, you continue to use stencils and brushes like you used in week 2. And then there's an ID maps system for easy selections in Painter that you can start off with in Maya and stuff like that. It's a little advanced. It's not terribly hard or anything like that. Just take lots of notes when you're watching the lecture. That way you're able to, you know, do it when you're not in this class. Unfortunately, I only had time to watch the lecture and then simply spit it back out on the computer and render it and turn it in, and that made me get an 84 in this week. So I went from a 98 week 1, 100 week 2, 84 week 3, and that there will show you the difference in simply watching the lecture and then watching it and then adding to it. Week 3 I was only able to watch it. Weeks 1 and 2 I was able to watch it and then add to it. So 98 and 100 up here, 84 down here. Follow that, because I was only able to spend 7 hours and 11 minutes in week 3, which is literally half the time that I was able to spend in weeks 1 and 2, and there's a massive grade difference. So spend time, finesse these friggin' objects, make them look as realistic as possible, because that's what's gonna get you a good grade. And at this point, good grades are the things that matter. And being able to just regurgitate what he shows you, that's not what is gonna get you a good job. It's not what's gonna make a good portfolio. It's gonna make a portfolio that looks exactly like everyone else's. Go above and beyond, that's what I'm trying to say. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to in week 3. It was friggin' difficult. And honestly, I don't even know what happened in week 3. Oh, shoot, yeah. Week 3, this is where it crosses over with the second class, History of Visual Communications. That's when I started doing my 6 food character picture, but I wasted the entire day because I was like, I'm not gonna get this done. I gotta narrow this down to 2. Oh, shoot, yep, that's what happened. The second class interfered with this first class because I couldn't think of a design idea I wanted for propaganda week. That's the challenge with this month. You have to learn how to balance these 2 classes. Granted, in History of Visual Communications, the discussions are due Friday and the assignments are due Sunday, whereas in Visual Development, this class, your discussions are due Sunday and your assignments are due Monday. However, you have to learn to balance all that because this class has the lecture posted first, but for someone like me, I want to knock out the History of Communications class first. That way I can do this one because Communications is due first, this one's due second. So it's a weird balancing act that you've got to kind of work through for this month. So enough about that. Let's get into week 4, which is currently ungraded, so I can't tell you what I got or didn't get. Okay, so the discussion for week 4, basically what you're gonna do, you're gonna find someone that uses Substance Designer a lot in their work and kind of study their work, you know, what's appealing about it. Is there anything that you notice in their work that you're able to incorporate into your own to get better? And it's again about Substance Designer. Designer is a node-based system, whereas Photoshop and Painter are layer-based systems. It's like, what are the benefits of having a node-based system over a layer-based system, and what are the disadvantages and stuff like that? You're just gonna find an artist that tends to use it. I would recommend looking on ArtStation, and you're gonna find someone. Just kind of look up Substance Designer, and you'll find a lot of circles with a lot of different designs on them. Find someone you think is cool, talk about them for a little bit. So week 4, you are texturing the bottle and the wall. And again, there's really not much I can talk about in terms of you're texturing this, because it's like, I can't give you tips on like, use a 5% opacity on the glass layer or something like that. I mean, I can sit here for hours and tell you exactly the little tiny steps I did. What I'm gonna do instead is just tell you, you're texturing the bottle, you're texturing the wall. And again with this class, you have some creative freedom. You don't have to match the reference exactly. So if there's a spot of paint on that bottle somewhere on the reference, you don't necessarily have to have that spot of paint. Make your bottle kind of look like something you would want your bottle to look like in the scene. Don't make it like stand out and make it feel off from the scene. Don't make the scene feel unbalanced or something like that. You have some freedom. So I created my own little label to put on the bottle, made to inspire Tetrad Brewery or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Might put it on a shirt one day, I don't know. But yeah, you just want to make the bottle look realistic. Now, unfortunately, and like I said, I haven't gotten my grade back, I feel like the bump on my bottle was a little high. It might be a little too normal. So I think I'm gonna get docked for that. And then in terms of the wall, in Substance Designer, you're going to make that kind of gold trim, or well, I mean, I made my pattern gold, but you're gonna make that gold pattern that you put on your wall, and then you're gonna tear it up. It's like wallpaper that's been peeling off this concrete wall, and you have, again, some creative freedom to do whatever you want with it. Make the wall kind of look like however you want the wall to look like with the pattern that you made. Now, in Substance Designer, you have to make a basic pattern, like a beginner, then you have to make an intermediate pattern, and then an advanced pattern. And don't worry, he has like 7 or 8 different patterns you can choose per level, and you just have to make one of each, and there's a video showing you how to make each one. So, and honestly, Substance Designer isn't that hard to use. You have to figure out what you're kind of doing, but once you do, it's not bad. And just from what I've seen him do with it, it looks like you can make just about any kind of material and then bring that into Substance Painter and then add that to your model. So that's pretty friggin' awesome. And so this is my final result for the month, and honestly, I feel like there are a few things that can be improved. I feel like the scraper blade is still a little high on its bump. I feel like the glass bottle is a little high on its bump. I feel like the wall is a little high on its bump. I feel like my pulley needs some more texture, some more detail to it, but I just did not have the time this month, which really stinks because this is a class that ties so heavily into my degree program that I want to give it my all, but it's hard to. So if there's a way you can take this class separate from History of Visual Communications, I feel like that would have been more beneficial, because then I could dedicate 100% of my time to this one, and then 100% of my time to History of Communications. I got 100 in there anyway, but I wouldn't have been as stressed about this class if I would have separated them. So I think that's possible. I feel like I heard someone say that at some point. If it's possible, I'd probably recommend it, just because this one is more time consuming. Now, as of right now, I have a 95.32 and my best possible grade, 96.4. I'm really hoping I can at least stay in the 90s, because that's still an A in the class. So if I can, awesome. And next month, I will give you guys an update as to what I got in this class. So let's talk about the teacher real quick, and then we'll move into some tips, and then in short, and we'll get out of here. Mo, come on, please. Stop. Stop shaking the fox. Stop shaking the fox. Okay. So, about the teacher, he seems really cool. You can tell he knows his stuff. During the first week, actually, I was having some difficulties rendering via email. He just kind of spent some time walking me through the process of, like, what might be going wrong. Yeah, overall, I don't have anything bad to say about him. He seems like a very motivational teacher that knows his stuff, and he wants you to just do well. He seems like a cool guy. So, some tips. Oh, shoot, I never told you guys render times, because that's a big factor this month. Okay, week 1, when it was just the lights and then the UVs, it took about an hour to render. Week 2, when it was the lights and the books were textured, the desk was textured, as well as the metal objects were textured, it took about 70 to 80 minutes to render. Week 3, it took 120 minutes to render, 2 hours. And then week 4 took 3 hours and 12 minutes to render. You can see as the more details you throw in there, the longer it's gonna take. And I wasn't able to turn week 4 in until 11:58. That's pushing it. And when you upload your stuff to FSO, it takes a good 5 minutes to upload a file that large. So don't upload it at 11:58 and then think you're gonna hit submit real quick, because that ain't gonna happen. I'd recommend uploading by 11:50. Because it's going to take a good 5, maybe 6 or 7 minutes for Full Sail to process that file for you to hit submit. So I had about a minute and a few seconds after I hit submit to just kind of chill before it was too late. So got lucky on that one. And then overall, just in terms of tips, it doesn't have to be pixel perfect. It can be slightly off. However, as long as it still has the feel, you're fine. If you're not comfortable with Painter yet, practice a lot before week 2. Like, take a model you made back in model creation or something like that, and just throw it in there and start texturing it, maybe figure something out, because you're gonna have to get used to it. Tips in terms of Substance Designer is node based. It's really not that hard to do once you figure out how to create a node, how to tie nodes together, and it's actually pretty cool. So don't let that scare you too much. You only use it in week 4. It's not a scary application. And overall, just make time for this. Start this class as homework for the week. Pause it. Go do your History of Visual Communications. Get all that knocked out in about 6 to 9 hours. And then continue working on this class. Because if you don't at least start it in the beginning, pause, and then continue working, if you just wait, do the other class, and then work on this one, you might be pushing it too far. So I'm really hoping I can at least stay in the A range for this class. Right now I'm at a 95.32. 95 is the barrier you have to stay above for an A+ in the class. 90 is the lowest A, I believe. So hopefully I can stay there, and that's pretty much it. We can move into an in short real quick. So, to wrap it all up, in short, 9 assignments, friggin' awesome teacher. Week 1, you are lighting and UVing. Week 2, you're doing a few basic things in Painter. Week 3, you're doing more advanced things in Painter. And then week 4, you're learning even more advanced things in Painter, as well as Substance Designer. Learning nodes and stuff like that. Your renders will increase in time. Week 1 takes about an hour, week 2 around 80 minutes, week 3 about 2 hours, and then week 4 about 3 hours. So plan accordingly. If it's 9 o'clock at night on Monday and you're still waiting to render, hit the render button right now, because I'm just saying you're gonna want to. And that's pretty much it, guys. Okay, so my question for you guys this month: Disney Plus coming pretty soon. Are you gonna get it? And what's the first thing you're gonna watch on it? Let me know, comments below. I know it's a bit of a random question, had nothing to do with this video, but I just like to talk to you guys sometimes. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. So if you would please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. See you guys later.